and a very, very early Tuesday as we try and get out of camp in order to do a hard march into Chester and hopefully beat the severe thunderstorms, 104-degree heat index, and whatever the hell else it's going to throw at us today. Good times! Almost feels like a shame I worked so hard to get us a reasonable campsite. And here we go, 5 hours later. So because we couldn't see down the side of the levee last night, I basically just had a few spots where I saw something that looked promising for finding a camp, and sure enough. The interesting thing is they seem to have taken these little scraps of fields here and there and been planting them, which has left less availability for us. Yesterday we stayed on the side of the levee, but a lot of them were not mowed here. So we got to sleep sometime after midnight after hiking till like 11:40 or later, it seems like. And we were up at 4 this morning. I got some coffee, Jen got a little extra sleep, and I did a triage of it, but I am basically 2 days behind at this point. We made it to around mile 34-ish last night. It's hard to get an exact thing because we're way between waypoints. It's basically just lying along the levee for 15 miles. And Chester is at about 22 or 23. So our hope here is just to knock out that distance, which is mostly on a busier road up here, and be in town by the time the heat gets unworkable in later afternoon. In addition to the heat, there are isolated severe thunderstorms predicted today since the humidity is spiking, and we don't want to be out on these exposed levees during that, obviously. Worst part of hiking last night, other than time seems to drag more for me after dark, is the mosquitoes were really bad from sunset until, I don't know, 10 or so, and then they got better. There is not a lot of traffic out on the levee, but has been at least one car going right around sunset and one around sunup. You can see what I'm talking about as far as the vegetation not being mowed. When we stayed at the other day, had been knocked down, so we were just on top of all these, cut down things. There was a period where we could have stayed on this side. I am a little reluctant to do that. I don't think it would be a problem since we're out so early in the morning, but I'm always kind of fearful of an irate farmer. Just having dealt with people in my life that get irrationally and scarily angry over very minor things. Somebody sent me a Reddit post, which was a video out of the UK somewhere, where a bike packer was set up in the corner of this farmer's field, and the farmer came back and basically was cursing on video. He recorded it and sprayed the poor guy in his tent and everything with a mix of water and cow poop. As with most things, the vast majority of people are nice and fairly decent, but the assholes kind of are more noticeable. As near as I can tell, the diversions from the levee out here are basically just to give you opportunities to get water. Because if you stay just on the levee, there has been pretty much nothing. CDT in New Mexico was kind of like that. Those more remote sections of the red line that nobody does these days. They are way out on some nice section, and then you basically cut over for a town resupply, and then you road walk back out. This levee was actually a little nicer, this section, because around that coal terminal, there was actually a good long paved section, which is a little easier on the feet than all those little rocks.
So the River to River Trail, Shawnee National Forest, right in my alley. I love the beautiful lush forest, the scenic creeks, the good amount of plant and animal diversity, and just getting away from roads and other signs of development, at least far enough away that you can't see or hear them. And so when we finished that section and we came out yesterday, And we're looking at about a week, 100 some miles of walking roads and levees, exposed to the blazing hot sun through nearly endless developed lands, whether it's agricultural, industrial. I was feeling pretty down and frankly had some anxiety about making the way through it.
And this is back to Highway 3, Route 3, whatever it is, which is the same road we were on yesterday. If you wanted to just come through here as fast as possible, it would have been more efficient to stay on that, but kind of nice to get off on the levees. We're in this sea of farmland where you get to see a lot more animals, hear birds, etc.
Fortunately, the way Matt responds to that, and I'm not sure if this always comes across enough in the videos, but he becomes over the top, enthusiastic, positive, and makes sure to cheer me up and look on the bright side. In this case, that was a lot of jokes, basically kept me cracking up for a good part of the day, and also focusing on the fact that we're hiking for almost 100 miles right alongside the Mississippi.
This really makes me miss the Mississippi, because there we were in the same boat, so I could always go, "Mush, Blondie," and she was right there, versus now I am having to text her.
And even though we can't see it for a lot of that, there's something neat about knowing that we're going through the same area we passed through just last summer, and just on the other side of those trees is right where we came through. I really can't imagine doing this hike, especially the roadwalk sections like this, on my own or with anyone else. So being with Matt and having his endless source of jokes and humor is one of the things that saves sections like this. And the other thing that saves it is there are some unique moments that surprise you. One of those was last night up on the levee after dark. Once the sun went down, it was finally a nice hiking temperature, and being up there all on our own, seeing the fireflies and the stars and hearing all the frogs and insects, I feel like that's going to be a memorable moment.
Can't imagine why the mosquitoes were so bad last night. So this was my last fallback option last night, if we weren't able to find a place to camp. I didn't want to push this far just because this would have been 32 miles or so. I mean, as it is, we did 28, and it's more about making sure we can continue moving at a pace versus the mileage on any given day. Not that this is a place I would normally want to camp, but when we are getting in at midnight and leaving at 5, you can get away with some things with a little care. Oh, come on. So in addition to the other porta-john and the doggy, it's one of them couples toilets. So probably best we stayed on the levee. Other than all of the traffic noise and everything, there is a dog here that just has been barking endlessly. Maybe he's the no camping in the park dog. This has been going on for about like 15 minutes. He got really excited when Jen showed up. Sadly, Taters is both not awake and did not want to do the couple's toilet with me. So I am actually somewhat wary of outside faucets. Ever since years ago on the Florida Trail, some people inadvertently used water from the lock, which was actually like out of that Okeechobee Creek. But we basically are too thirsty to care anymore. Jen requested a head start, so I sat there with the dog barking at me for another 5 or 10 minutes and let her get down the road.
That was really sad. Passed by a house back there. Guy was sitting out on his porch drinking coffee and offered me some. That would have made Matt so happy.
Oh, Coffee Street. On straightforward terrain like this, I do tend to hike a little faster if I'm not paying attention. It's not that big a deal, and generally I say we're pretty compatible on this. She's also more disciplined about actually getting up when the alarm goes off and things like that, so it all evens out. Could do without the truck traffic on this no shoulder road, but Only about 4 more miles and we get down by the Mississippi for the stroll into Chester. Massatators Does America crosses over with Massatators Does the Mississippi. And it is already bloody humid today. I drank 3 liters of water at that park. And I think it's all just coming out as sweat rather rapidly. Also, check out how fast that current is moving behind that barge. They must be working just to stay still. So part of the way I entertain myself on roads is just trail booty. I found money and other random things. Sex toys, weapons, yada yada. Found a phone, but it is, yeah, somebody did a number on this. It's kind of cool getting to see all this stuff from the other side. We're just sitting here having a little picnic on this lovely road, getting to meet all sorts of nice truckers who fly by at 60 miles an hour, just about sending us off the edge here. But Taters had a failure in AirPods, so we needed to stop. Oreos in traffic here this morning on Massatators Does America. We are looking forward to getting off of this road.
Finally, we turned off of Highway 3, which was that really busy road, and we get to follow this quieter road for a few miles into Chester. As an added bonus, this should give us some nicer views of the Mississippi.
Well, that is a little bit better. Technically, this is the truck bypass for Chester, but most of them seem to be sticking on the main road. 9:30 and it is officially getting hot now. Oh man, that is ripping today. For whatever reason, the Mississippi source to sea had a bigger impact on me by far than anything since the PCT, which was my, my first big major through hike like this. Blondie needs to hurry her butt up back there.
Here we go. Finally did get that view of the Mississippi. Just had to go past the train station, the line of like 25 trucks waiting to be weighed. Anyway, I remember that bridge, at least I think I do. There were a lot of bridges that were kind of similar, but we do remember Chester. And every time we see this river, we're talking about how much different our trip would have been this year versus last year, because the water level is so much higher and the flow is so much faster. I mean, we thought it was fast when we hit the Missouri confluence just above here, and all of a sudden we were moving at like 3 miles an hour, even if we didn't paddle. If we did it this year, we would have a significantly easier time covering distance, maybe a harder time finding campsites. We're hiking across the country, and we were wondering if we could show up early, would you be able to give us an early check-in so we could possibly get out? No, we're walking.
From Delaware.
Awesome, thank you so much.
You didn't even have to threaten to like have me just lie out front and act like a hobo. And welcome to Chester, where it is bloody hot. We are off the red line, so the red line just stays down by the river and goes right by. But, oh, and there's good Mexican food, but it's like 2 miles away. And so far our attempts at hitching are not super productive, as you can see. So this is the Popeye town. They have various statues of the different Popeye characters.
This town has a Popeye theme. That's the one thing we remembered about it from the Mississippi.
is really bloody hot, but it was 0.8 miles for a chance of nachos. Also, it's near the prison apparently. Tis the promised land, hopefully. Despite the fact it's Tater's Tuesday, it's obviously Matt's day because, as you see, the nice gentleman delivered the 2 beers on this side of the table, which clearly puts them in Matt land, not Blondie-topia.
Blondie's still working on hers.
Blondie sucks at drinking.
Matt has been on a quest to find good nachos again ever since his nachos very early on in the trip with Jerome. What do you think, Matt? Do these qualify?
Jen's been watching Fallout, so she's familiar with shattered wastelands, such as behold Blondie's excess.
Hey, this is your
Sprinkles
choice.
and all. It's Tater's Tuesday, therefore it is your fault. 1:30. It is even more hot. We are very full. There is no Uber here, and Tater's is just dead set against every idea I have to get a ride back to the hotel. I keep seeing police, and I was asking her to tell me where the police station was, because I was saying if I just drop my pants, that police officer's going to have to take me there. I'm pretty sure it's probably a warning the first time you do that sort of thing. Maybe that would get us closer to the hotel.
The shocking thing is that like other hikers actually do things like this. Do you remember that post on the CDT about how if you try to hitch, the police will pick you up and they will give you a ride either to your destination or to jail?
No, the thing there was the police are giving people hitches in, but be careful, they were checking for warrants. And the takeaway was lots of people who were hiking that year had warrants. I once had to do a work project I really didn't want to because apparently every other coworker failed the background check from LAPD, which left me in an awkward place where I'm trying to figure out what sort of crime I had to commit so I was not eligible for the project at LAPD. And after another 2 miles in the heat, we are almost to the Best Western. I am just afraid because while the reviews were generally positive and it is affordable, some people said the AC basically wasn't able to keep up, and in this current heat, that's enough to give you nightmares. And then finally they reach and they visit the actual biggest ball of twine in Minnesota, and it's so great, like it's satisfying, it elevates their lives.
And after a 2-mile walk through the midday heat of Chester,
Involuntary walk, somebody wanted to hitchhike and somebody's like,
which a few beers helped make significantly more pleasant, we are going to check into our hotel and cool off.
oh. I've been trying to get to Jen to go outside, but instead we have the most epic Blondie sits in a hotel near St. Louis ever.
You can tell we're getting close to St. Louis because all the thunderstorms that we've been seeing off in the distance over the last few days that we've been seeing pass by us on the radar. Whoa. We're finally in one. And per our experience last year anyway, area around St. Louis is always having thunderstorms. After napping in the hotel room for a couple hours to catch up on sleep, I walked over to the Walmart next door to handle our resupply, and this is what I ended up with. This is going to be food for about 3 days for the two of us, but we are figuring we're going to supplement a little bit at some restaurants that we pass along the way, like probably at least one of the nights we're going to be back in town and we'll have a restaurant dinner. So we have 2 dinners, 1 day of rice and beans and 1 day of Knorr and potatoes. We have our drink supply. Matt always likes to have extras of those so we don't run low. We have kind of our substantial lunch item or heavy snack item, which is going to be tortillas either with pepperoni and cheese or with peanut butter. We have a good selection of bars. Got some salty snacks and some fruit and nut snacks and cookies and candy. I think Matt thinks that candy is its own food group. So, not exactly an ideal diet, but it gives us enough energy and enough variety to keep going. And you'll notice that all of the stuff is stuff that will not melt. It will hold up okay in our bags, being crushed and in the heat. Normally, there would be at least some fruits and veggies in the mix, even if it's just a few fresh ones that we're going to eat on the in-town day. Unfortunately, not all of the Walmarts have an actual produce section, so this is one that has the grocery section, but not any of the fresh stuff. We're planning to go back to our normal-ish schedule tomorrow, so maybe out of here by 8 a.m. or so. The storms are supposed to continue all day tomorrow, off and on, so we do expect to be walking in them, but no need to rush out into the storm right at the crack of dawn. Home sweet home for the night.